Wait for Blood to get back in here. Room kind of messy. Forgive me. I didn't realize it was so raggedy as I look back here. All right, Blood, sent you your thing. Let's get back going. We'll wait for some cats to get back on. We continuing this. Yep, you got the link. You got the link, Blood. It's already there. It's already on the way. Yes, sir. All right. Let me go to there you go. Here you go, Blood. Blood boxing.
What's up, my brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. What's going on, man? Let's before we get all the way cooking, let's wait till the people get in the building. Get back in the building. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Let me put it back on I gotta put it back on your channel so I can see the comment section, man.
Yeah, it's good. We are on live already. Hey, we refuse to debate our brother. Okay? Black fight fan on this. We will not be doing that. Too many people are thirsty for that. Y'all got to go pay Black Fight Fan TV to argue with him. We ain't doing that shit for free over here. Let me get to the YouTube.
Are we on live right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We on. We ready. We're going.
I don't see you live, man.
Yeah, we on. I'm looking at it.
Okay.
You a big red screen.
I can't see you live on here, so I can't see the chat. That's weird.
Yeah,
because I'm on your channel.
Okay. All right. Well, let's wait. Get back in. Okay. All right. So let's redo this. Aaron Parker, what's good, man? Goalkeeper 3000. Ivy Webb. Steve Lamont Hawkins, what's going on? Kanad Williams. B&B Boxing. Steve Romero. Mike Hennigan. Gregory Wyatt, Troll Hunter on deck. I think we killed all the trolls. I think all the trolls are dead. What's going on? Ron Finkley. Box One, Woolbag, Miami Snoopy 305, Boxing Conversations, Reggie Owens. Yes, sir. Christopher's Boxing, Mike Finnegan. KQKC, what's happening? Ivy Webb, the queen. Ivy Webb, what's happening with you? All right, so here we go. Woolbag said, I always miss Trill Boxing Talk debates. I have like half an idea what people are talking about. Black Fight Fan TV is just professing his love for Eagle Web Boxing said, I'm a new troll for 9. You suck. Hey man, you got a wrench, dog. You ain't no troll. We don't need no trolls. Now look, let's get into it. I guess we got 77 people back in the building. You know, we put the show on pause so we can get get Blood Boxing on here. So what were you talking about, Blood? What you want to interject? Blood, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm up here talking and not realizing I'm on mute, okay?
Hey, no worries. Go ahead, man.
All right. Listen, man. I'm hearing a lot of talk. This don't have nothing to do with Black Fight Fan or anyone else because I'm hearing a whole lot of talk that Lomachenko is number one. And then there's those people who are kind of riding the fence and they're saying, well, if he gets undisputed, then he'll be number one. But I'm looking here, man. I'm looking at Lomachenko because, I don't follow these guys like I used to follow the fighters back in the day. But he won the WBO here in 2018. Then he won the WBA next, okay? Which he won the super title, first of all. So I don't know if that's not the real lineal, I don't think, because it's a super title. But anyways, that doesn't have anything to do really with my argument. Then he just won the WBO. Now, I just typed into the Google search engine on Lomachenko mandatories. I was looking for mandatories and things like that. Couldn't find anything anywhere. So basically, this whole undisputed garbage, because when Terrence Crawford became undisputed, I think the very next day or two, they were talking about some mandatory, okay? Now up in the heavyweight division, you have the WBO saying that they're going to want a mandatory after this next fight. And, so undisputed just depends on how the sanctioning bodies want it to be. They're not placing any kind of mandatories on Lomachenko. They're not placing any barriers in front of him. So getting an undisputed status is just based on the sanctioning bodies who I don't follow behind, okay? Because me personally, I think they need to get rid of all these belts, okay? So the undisputed status don't mean anything anymore unless somebody could gain an undisputed and then reign as the undisputed champion. Just to gain an undisputed depends on if the sanctioning bodies want to work together and things like that. So I don't give it any credit in this day and age. The guy has 14 wins and 1 loss, okay? If you look at him next to Terrence Crawford, okay, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, he fought Luke Campbell, who already had a couple of losses, who I think is an overrated fighter. All right, Corolla, all these Pedraza. I remember him. Linares, these guys. He fought Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux was much smaller than him, like 2 weight divisions below him. He fought Nicholas Walters, who was a quitter and who was overhyped. Okay. I don't know what's happened to Nicholas Walters. He fell in love, and that was the end of him. Okay, then you got Terrence Crawford, who's undefeated. He's already been undisputed. I don't know how much credit I would want to give the undisputed. The IBF was trying to build a barrier at the time, and the fans had to come in and basically bark at the IBF and Daryl Peoples and them for this fight to be an undisputed fight. So the reason why there's no IBF placing the mandatory, the IBF is not involved in this situation here. Let me look again. You got the WBC.
IBF is coming up next.
Yeah, that's coming up next. But I have a feeling that they're going to let this guy be an undisputed champion. They're not going to place any barriers in the way. They're not going to, because the WBC, this is what I find weird too. The WBC placed their vacant title on the line. Usually they don't take another champion and just give them another belt. They did it with only guys that they could hype up. Usually they'll try to use 2 people from their own ranking systems. I'm going to pull some examples of this by the time we get on OG Boxing Talk. I'm telling you, I'm real early in my research on all of this stuff, but I know where to look. I noticed that there's no boundaries being placed on Lomachenko. So if he gets an undisputed status, that's just because they let him become undisputed. And they're going to let this guy become undisputed. He's going to get all the belts. There's not going to be no mandatories placed on him because they're trying to market him as some great white hope and some pound-for-pound fighter that he's not, because he hasn't proved himself against legit fighters who have athletic ability, such as Devin Haney, Tank, all of those guys. You know what I'm saying? When he did fight Gary Russell, okay? He fought Gary Russell, who's a very good fighter. So I give him credit. I think that, me personally, I think the Gary Russell victory is his best victory, and he can fight with the best of them. He can, but he has not proved himself as this guy that everybody's making him out to be, man. All right, the undisputed thing, that don't mean shit to me, not in this environment, because these sanctioning bodies, in my opinion, they're very dirty. I'm going to start researching these guys. I'm going to ask why there's no mandatories being placed. I'm going to find out when mandatories was placed. You wait till Trill Boxing Talk. I'll have that information. But all this stuff about this undisputed, I'm going to shoot it all the way down. I'm telling you guys, I'm at the beginning right now of my thought process in regards to this whole undisputed trash. And that's basically what I want to say about it, And also, in this environment, okay, of, all these title holders and all of that stuff and fighters not wanting to fight each other. Such one person mentioned Canelo, but Canelo picks and chooses who he wants to fight. All right, he does. He hasn't fought Charlo. I haven't seen really Charlo and then make no big deal of it. He ain't fought Andre. Them guys don't fight each other. So if somebody has Lomachenko as pound for pound, you can't argue too much because there's nobody who's really doing nothing. Look at all the politics that's happening right now in the welterweight division with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence and the PBC and side of the street and all of that bullshit. Okay, so this whole thing, basically, we're just a bunch of puppets. All right, boxing's supposed to belong to the fans. What we demand, we're supposed to get. We're never getting it. So in this environment, anyways, the reason why a fighter who's 14-1 could come into this game and be considered a pound-for-pound king is because none of the other fighters are doing anything, man. They're not stepping up. They don't have they don't even want to interact with us. The only one who's vocal on anything is Deontay Wilder, okay? They're not concerned about these barriers. They're happy with the little money that they're getting. So, no, I'm not going to make a big deal. I'm just going to say that the undisputed thing at this point, It's overhyped, man, because they're not doing it in all the weight divisions like they're doing it at lightweight, and I'm going to find out why. And I think I know why, but I'm going to find out why, and I'm going to be calling all of these guys out, all of these sanctioning body heads, Daryl Peoples, Suleiman, Mendoza, all these guys. I'm going to call them out on why they're not placing barriers on Lomachenko. Yes, I want an undisputed champion, but I want that same kind of energy in all the weight classes, okay? That's why spreadsheet drama is going to be very important when I bring it to the table. And you guys make sure y'all tune in with us on OG Boxing Talk, because I will advance this conversation through research, okay? So that's what I have to say for now.
Yes, sir. By the way, man, let me tell you something with you, this Stay Gifted dude. All right, you guys putting him on timeout. I don't mind. I want to address what you said. Look, man, that is the weakest argument that you can man, that's not even an argument. That's just some you flapping your lips about shit that people ain't even talking about. You trying to tear down Tank is not a reason to make somebody else the pound for pound best fighter. To respond to this, if I say I don't think Lomachenko was the best pound for pound fighter, and you say, who has Tank fought? Number one, I'm not talking about Tank. I'm talking about Vasily Lomachenko. And who Tank fought has no bearings whatsoever on what Vasily Lomachenko has done. Now, the pound for pound best, whoever the pound for pound best is it's a matter of opinion. That is a matter of opinion. And you have the right. I don't think that like was said on the chat earlier, in the chat before Trill Boxing Talk. It was said, that why would it be unreasonable for somebody to think that Terrence Crawford is the number one pound for pound fighter in the world? And it's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable. It's also not unreasonable to say that he's not. It is not unreasonable to say, I don't believe that Terrence Crawford is the best. I mean, that Vasily Lomachenko was the best fighter in boxing. I don't believe that he is. I don't believe that he is for several reasons. The major reason is that he lost to Orlando Salido. I have a hard time processing that he lost to Orlando Salido and putting him ahead of Terrence Crawford or putting him ahead of Canelo Alvarez. I don't see it. But none of that has anything to do with Gervonta Davis. The reason that I think Gervonta Davis is a good fighter because Gervonta Davis has won the 130-pound title twice. You guys talk about who does he have on his resume? Who does he have on his resume? Dude, you don't know half of the people on any of these people's resume. And you elevate people depending on who they're fighting. Like Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell has already lost 2 times. And he already lost once to a guy that already lost to a guy that Lomachenko beat. The round robin top rank fighting circle, all these guys in everybody in top rank got a funny looking resume, if you ask me, because I see how they match make. They match make. The way the top rank operates is they make people, their fighters that they want to win, they put them in against guys that they think that they can beat. There is no scenario in Top Rank where they're throwing Top Rank fighters to the wolves. They don't do it. Lomachenko has never been thrown to the wolves. And I'm going to give you an example. There's a young fighter that I think very, very highly of, Money Powell. Money Powell is a 168-pound fighter who fought on a PBC fight, lost by split decision again against a guy I believe it was a 6'7". A 6'7". I haven't seen the actual stats on him, but this is a guy where Money Powell has 10 fights. He's fighting a guy that's more experienced, much bigger, that if you wanted to protect, if somebody was trying to stand there and protect Money Powell, they wouldn't have made Money Powell fight him for another 10 more fights. But they said, hey, let's put the young man in there and see how it comes out. Right? That's what happened to Lomachenko. Lomachenko lost. Money Powell lost. Money Powell lost after 10 fights in a split decision. Lomachenko lost after his first fight. But they didn't think that they were throwing Lomachenko to the wolves. Orlando Salido had just lost to Mikey Garcia. And Orlando Salido already had 11 losses. Look, man, You can always tear apart people's resumes. The fact of the matter is that, and something that I think that BloodBoxing is talking to, is all of these ranking systems are super, super suspect. But I'm interested in to see what's going to happen with Lomachenko now. Because Lomachenko, like I said before we broke it off, Lomachenko, what do you mean facts are facts? Facts are facts, but interpretations are interpretations. Tawala, I don't even know what you mean by facts are facts. But if what facts are facts are, Lomachenko lost. That's a fact. Lomachenko lost. That's a fact. Terrence Crawford is not lost. That's a fact. Terrence Crawford is already a undisputed champion at 140 pounds. People are trying to give Vasyl Lomachenko credit for something that may happen in the future. You know, it's like if Lomachenko wins undisputed, then we'll say that he would have resume would be like Terrence Crawford. Well, the shit ain't happened yet. It ain't happened yet. He is not the IBF champion. He has 3 belts at lightweight, but he hasn't done it yet. So pump your brakes. Pump your brakes, Loma. And if he did it, Lomachenko would have already, Terrence Crawford would have already done it. Hassan, 135-pound Bud versus 135-pound Loma would be a great fight. No, it wouldn't be a massacre. Hassan R, it'd be a massacre. And I'll tell you what my belief is. If Terrence Crawford was still at 135 pounds and Lomachenko could be fighting at 135 pounds, Bob Arum would force Terrence Crawford to 147 pounds. Because that's how Top Rank works. You have plenty of fighters like Kasim Uma, who was at 54 pounds, couldn't get a fight at 147 pounds. Couldn't get one because they're not going to put him in against their golden boy that they want to win. And I'll say I think a lot of the resentment around Lomachenko is Lomachenko is being given so much credit for, well, number one, he's being given credit for things that he hasn't even achieved yet, which is being undisputed. Well, he's about to be undisputed. Well, when he gets that done, then let's talk about what he did. Let's talk about what he did after he actually did it. As of right now, he hasn't done that. If you're going to go with that line of reasoning, I might as well say shit. Well, Errol Spence Jr. is the greatest fighter of all time because he's gonna unify 147 and he's gonna unify 154 and he's gonna unify 160 and he's gonna be undisputed at light heavyweight, and then he's gonna move up to beat Deontay Wilder because shit, I just feel like putting a bunch of ifs and buts were candies and nuts and put the whole fuck and just give him credit for shit that ain't happened yet. You know what I mean? I can't go with it, man. Talk about Lomachenko and then to be comparing, and then you start convoluting things. Are we talking about Lomachenko being the pound for pound best fighter in the world, or are we talking about him being an all-time great? Because I don't think I've ever heard anybody say Terrence Crawford is an all-time great. I've never heard it. I've never heard anybody say that they believe that of these press people. First of all, Adrian Lagos, nobody said anything about race. You said it. So you are obviously obsessed about race. You brought it into the conversation. So maybe you're the racist. Since the only way that you can explain, the only way that you can chalk up somebody having an issue with Lomachenko is because of his race, you're the one bringing that up. But you ain't going to last long. You're going to be out of here anyway. So, yeah, no trolling. That's how it works, man. You always can spot one because they bring it up. You can talk. I can say, but I've never heard, who are the all-time greats that you've heard mentioned that are fighting today? How long was it before anybody mentioned Floyd Mayweather Jr. being an all-time great? When Blood, let me ask Blood. Blood, when did you first start hearing about Floyd Mayweather Jr. being considered a all-time great? Just delete him, dude. This ain't. Okay. Well, hey, look. Hold on 1 second, Blood. Dude, look, Gregory, just shoot him and be done with it. Because I can't read the chat. That's best. BFTB likes that. I can't read the chat. Just shoot him and be done with it. Go ahead, man.
It wasn't until the Arturo Gatti fight when people started to talk like that, because that was kind of the fight that put him on the map to the mainstream, okay? Because Arturo Gatti was this popular fighter. He was fighting really at his height around the late 90s and stuff like that, mid to late 90s. And Floyd Mayweather fought Arturo Gatti, and that's the fight that's when people started to talk like, this guy's a great and this and that. They started to talk like that then. But listen, I have a problem. Let's go back real quick to this whole thing with Lomachenko being a pound for pound. Number one, we all know that pound for pound was created because of fighters like Sugar Ray Robinson, who had so much skills, that they had to create something to make them the best, because these smaller guys can't beat heavyweights. So that's why many people don't place a heavyweight in the pound for pound. And as far as pound for pound ratings, I'm going to tell you this, and I did a little research on this too. Before the social media era, I'm going to tell you right now, pound for pound is used too loosely. I'm going to tell you why. Before the social media era, okay, you had to go for pound through magazines, okay? ESPN hardly never, ever pulled up a pound for pound list. I watched them all the time. They didn't do pound for pounds. Pound for pounds came from the magazines. They had what was called the Dynamite Dozen in a magazine called KO Magazine back in the day. KO Magazine started in 1980. So there might have been magazines before that had, and I do believe Boxing Illustrated and a couple of them would do a pound for pound, but the earliest I can remember is KO Magazine. Then the Ring didn't even pick that shit up until 1990. And you know what happened? The only two publications that was really focusing on a pound for pound for several years, at least from 1980 to 2007, was the Ring Magazine and KO Magazine. In 2007, Oscar De La Hoya bought these magazines, okay, and he ended his the KO thing in 2007. He might have bought the magazine a couple of years earlier or something like that, but he ended KO in 2007. And by the time he took over, all that pound for pound shit became corrupt. It became a money thing to put people on top so people could get money and the way they could promote people. But I'm going to tell you right now, pound for pounds of people who have established dominance in their division, okay? Like, they're only people that you could even call a pound for pound in the whole social media era, in my opinion, is Andre Ward, because he participated in this tournament back in 2008 or 7 or something. It was 2008 or 9. It was called the Super 8 tournament. All right, some people washed out of that tournament, but that's the only guy in the whole social media era. And all the historians could come on here and argue with me, because I know this era very well, just as well as anybody else. Okay, all of this stuff started with Oscar De La Hoya and all of them trying to promote this for a money thing. Okay, pound for pound guys are guys like Bernard Hopkins, when Bernard Hopkins was running around defending his title as an undisputed. How's about all of those defenses Pernell Whitaker had, which I'm going to go into in my documentary, how many defenses he defended as the undisputed lightweight champion. Okay, that's a real pound for pound guy, not some guy that sanctioning bodies create and decide and pick who's going to fight. You guys are a bunch of puppets, man. You let these sanctioning bodies push y'all around. Y'all never question them. You just, that's why I'm glad that Deontay Wilder said what he said. If you guys listen to the champ, he told you straight up that these guys are insignificant, okay? You guys are letting these guys tell you who's undisputed, because if it lines their pockets, they'll work together for a Lomachenko. They come to the table. They talk behind the scenes, these guys. Yeah, I work with you in that Lomachenko shit. Yeah, let's get some money out of this. But up there at heavyweight, they want to have their own heavyweight and all of that. So it's, it just depends on how they want to work the whole thing. And that's what you guys don't understand. That's why you need to stand behind PBC and push them to get rid of these belts altogether, like Teddy like they're one of their puppets. Teddy Atlas said. He was right on that. Okay, so get rid of it altogether. The pound for pound shit is thrown around way too much. The last pound for pound that I think we had was Andre Ward. It's all opinion based anyways, okay? Let's not put that out of the way. That's why I'm not going to argue with anyone who says Lomachenko's the best, okay? But you're basing that on what, though? That's my question. What are you really basing that on? Oh, who he beat? But what did the rankings look like at that time? Now we got to get deep and we got to start digging into this shit as to why you see him as pound for pound. And what during the time he fought Gary Russell, who else was in the rankings at the time? Was the sanctioning bodies working with the fighters to get undisputed then? You know, you got to ask these kind of questions. So pound for pounds could only be proven through your actions in the ring. Okay, so a guy like Bernard Hopkins was a pound for pound in the 90s. Roy Jones was a pound for pound in the 90s when he was at light heavyweight. Okay. Other than that, some people, Floyd Mayweather kind of came in with that social media. Him and Oscar De La Hoya got to transform as fighters, as big fighters into the social media world. Okay. And with that, they took all this hype with them. Okay. Because that's how they was going to get big. So Oscar De La Hoya went as far as to buy the only two legit ranking systems that we had, which was the Ring magazine and the KO magazine. Those were the two biggest ranking systems. Oscar De La Hoya bought them and started manipulating them. And then you had all these websites that came along who didn't know nothing about boxing, and they started making up computer systems, and they even let computers generate who the top guys are at BoxRec. What kind of guy does that? If you're a real boxing expert, you sit down and you watch and you analyze and you come to the table and you discuss why these guys are where they're at. The last pound for pound that we had was Andre Ward because he really established himself in a tournament. That's my opinion on it because it's just opinion based. Before Andre Ward, it was Roy Jones, okay? Before Roy Jones, it was Pernell Whitaker. Some people could have said Trinidad, okay, for a little time. They could have said Trinidad when he moved up to middleweight. But that train came to a wreck when he ran into Bernard Hopkins in that tournament. So that's when Bernard Hopkins established himself as a pound for pound when he went through that tournament with Trinidad, Joppy, and all of them guys. Okay, you guys don't remember that because some of y'all weren't even born. And if you was born, you was watching football back then. Don't fucking lie to me, okay? I know who these guys are. All right, so I'm just telling you guys, the pound for pound shit is thrown around way too loosely. The last pound for pound I saw was Andre Ward, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Man, Michael Johnson, Boxing Talking More, said Floyd wasn't called all-time great at 15 fights. I'll tell you that much. Absolutely wasn't. But look, man, we got 387 people in the building. We got 115 likes. When blood is on, I usually don't do this, man, but when blood's in the thing, man, seriously, you guys don't get this during this hour, this time slot all the time, man. Blood Boxing is one of the best boxing historians that there are. And as you see, this cat has got a very, very rich understanding, very serious understanding of what's going on in the sport of boxing, especially when it comes to these ranking systems that boxing. He's one of the best cats on YouTube. So hit the like button, pay respect to Blood Boxing, subscribe.
What's going on? You guys don't like me? Why are you not smashing the like button? You're just going to come on here and just watch this talk and you're not going to smash the like button. That's not showing support for your brother, man. I can't believe you guys are like that. I don't understand why y'all hate like that, man. I come on here, man. I don't never get paid for none of this. Just smash the fucking like, please. Damn. All right, please smash the like, man. You don't have to do us like that, man.
Yes, sir. He's better at that. So look, man, look. I like how you got into that thing, man. That shit, just the marketing of it, man. Like Blood was saying with Oscar De La Hoya, man. Can you go into that a little bit more? Because I don't think people understand that this shit isn't that not only is this pound for pound stuff not real, it's not real, it doesn't mean anything, it's a marketing ploy. But explain to people what Ring was, like Ring Magazine's ratings, for example. And I go into this a lot. Ring Magazine of the 1950s, 1960s, that is not the Ring Magazine that we have today. Ring Magazine today and ESPN and how the media works. Blood, go into that a little bit. But hold on, let me say D-Lo404 say hit the like button. Joe just come in to bite material. Oh, you know y'all gonna bite material now. We know you bite material. And since I know who the people are that bite the material, what's good with y'all? What's good with you? I like to see how you guys gave 78 Sports TV the credit for the Deontay Wilder interview. I've seen that happen more and more often where you're giving 78 Sports TV the credit that he deserves for the information that he gets and not just going and asking Wilder the same question so he can give you the same answer that you already heard on 78 Sports TV. Salute for that. Now, stop stealing my ideas and covering the same damn topics, dog. Anyway, can you go over and explain to these guys the history of Ring Magazine?
Yes, I can. Ring Magazine, okay, it goes back a long way. I'm not sure exactly what year it came around. I do know that Oscar De La Hoya bought the magazine in 2006. When I was first born in 1973, the Ring Magazine was already around. It had been around for decades, okay? Oscar De La Hoya bought it at the beginning of the social media tool, okay? He bought it in 2006, and I'm telling you all the time that social media changed in 2006 and 7, okay? That's when that's when boxing really went over into the social media world, okay? Around 2006. At that time, Oscar De La Hoya was still a big name in boxing. He was also a big-time promoter now. He was the golden boy. He was coming off of a loss against Bernard Hopkins, who was one of the pound-for-pounds of that early 2000 time period. Bernard Hopkins had proven himself as a pound for pound by beating everybody in his division and even participating in a tournament when he had already established himself as the big time champion for quite some time. For years, he had already been champion, and then he went and competed. Would Floyd Mayweather had done something like that? Let's say in 2008, they put together a panel of fighters, Paul Punisher Williams and all the guys that was out there, and he wouldn't have participated because at that time they was using social media to promote their names, to promote their brand, okay? So right around 2007 is when the social media boom kicked in because Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya had a big time fight. That's what brought me onto YouTube was that era, Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. What Oscar De La Hoya did is he bought the Ring Magazine, and he actually, I remember this because I made a video on it. He put Floyd Mayweather as the #1 pound-for-pound guy in the magazine because he wanted to make sure that he was fighting, that he wanted the world to know he was fighting the pound-for-pound #1. That's how they promoted it. I was on boxing social media back then, okay? I was already there, and I was questioning this, like, why you got Floyd Mayweather at the top? He ain't fought other guys. He ain't fought, what's his name? The guy who wrapped his hand, Margarito, and all of those guys. At that time, I didn't know Margarito was a cheater and all of that. But there was some little video going around, floating around at the time with Margarito following Floyd Mayweather around. But that's not the point. They built that fight on social media. Oscar De La Hoya bought the magazines. He put an end to KO and the Dynamite Dozen. And then he just started manipulating the ring rankings, okay? Now, boxing websites started to come onto the scene around 2007, like those kind of fanboy page like Fight Hype and stuff. So they started having ratings, and too that was, made by guys like, I want to say that guy's name, old Unk over there. But, that's what I'm saying. So all of this, they started with all this pound for pound shit with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, okay? Even though these guys never reigned their division, never participated in a tournament like Andre Ward or anything like that. So everything is just opinion-based. For me, you have to be like an undisputed type guy who's going around reigning as an undisputed, like a Marvin Hagler, Bernard Hopkins type, or Roy Jones at light heavyweight. You have to be that type of a fighter to even be called a pound for pound. You guys just let these boxing websites and all these people manipulate that. Pound for pound is a very special title, okay? Only certain fighters can even have that title, in my opinion, pound for pound. Pound for pound was before Floyd Mayweather because, like I said, they had the Dynamite Dozen. They had rankings back in the day. They have been talking about pound for pound since, Sugar Ray Robinson and stuff like that. So it had been around for a long time. But in 2007, with the social media tool, they started to manipulate and fool people about what this pound for pound thing really means. And that's what I'm trying to say.
Also, man, I want to connect something to you. By the way, Kurt, I sent you a link. See if you want to jump on real quick, man, because I think this is type of conversation is right up your alley. If you feel like if you can't, don't got the time, I understand. Look, man, I also want to point out, man, about Ring Magazine. Now, when Ring Magazine was bought by Oscar De La Hoya, please note that before Oscar De La Hoya took over Ring Magazine, there was no lineal heavyweight champion. 2 years after he took over that magazine is when Vladimir Klitschko became the lineal champion, the Ring Magazine champion by beating Ruslan Shagayev. But because he was the number 1 and the number 3 ranked Ring Magazine fighters. Why would they pick that to be the Ring Magazine title? And ever since then, people have thought that Vladimir Klitschko was the lineal champion, heavyweight champion of the world, when all he really was the Ring Magazine champion. And it's knowing that, and actually at the time, there was a big, not in the media, but a lot of people knew that there were people that quit the border ring because they thought that having a promoter own Ring Magazine was a conflict of interest. Because as we know and you can see it in the media now, unlike certain people like what you would call new media, people like Blue Blood, people like Fred, Boxing Ego, guys like that who are not tied to a magazine or tied to a distribution outlet like ESPN. These guys don't have the ability to say the things that they want, the things that they want to say, but yet still get press passes. I saw an interview that was done. Well, actually, it's an article done by a media member that talked about what happened to Dan Rayfield when Dan Rayfield, after Bob Arum and Top Rank went to ESPN, and how Bob Arum removed Dan Rayfield from the front press row seats and made him sit with the secondary press. But Dan Rayfield got so pissed off that he went and sat and covered the fight from the ESPN's truck. So that tells you this. All of this stuff just shows you why you should not put very much weight behind ESPN, Ring Magazine, or any of these mainstream media outlets that you get, because these guys are pretty much just they're bought and paid for, if they're not actually paid for by a outlet like Mark Kragel. And funny enough, Mark Kragel, Boxing Ego, is not tied to ESPN, dude. He's an affiliate for ESPN Plus. Hey, get out of here, man. That's affiliate marketing. He is not tied to ESPN. Not in the way that these guys are tied to ESPN. These guys are salaries are literally paid by ESPN. And Mark Kragel I find Mark Kragel interesting because you can go back and do research on Mark Kragel. Mark Kragel got into boxing because he was given an interview by Larry Holmes. His introduction into the boxing media was the same type of introduction into the boxing media that Max Kellerman got with his relationship with Pernell Whitaker. They both were able to they were both working for like public access or some real low level or secondary level marketing, but they couldn't get the big jobs, so they wound up having a relationship with boxing that nobody else wanted to cover boxing. So they got their in boxing. And one of the articles that Mark Kragel talked about was how promoters basically influence judges and referees by flying them to the fights, giving them, basically making the fight essentially like a free vacation for the judges, for the referees, and that leads those guys into wanting to make the promoter happy, right? But all the while forgetting to acknowledge, well, he acknowledges, but he doesn't focus on it that much in the article, that he also had his bills paid to the fight by the promoters. Fred talked about how DAZN was flying a lot of these American media guys to the fights, paying for their rooms. And it's just, man, you just can't take this stuff that these guys say. Oh, King Cross. Did I hurt your feeling, King Cross? See how these dudes do? See how they do? Can't take it, huh? Those are all facts. Everything that I gave you are facts. Tim Bradley is paid by ESPN. You can go listen to one of the things that Teddy Atlas said on his podcast. He talked about in the podcast how there were certain promoters that didn't want him to cover fights because they were worried about the things that he would say on the telecast, because they didn't want to hear the truth from Teddy Atlas. Now, not that I agree with shout out Javier Anaheim Calamone. Shout out, man. Yeah, man, dude just talking. He specifically talked about how ESPN, because that's the only people that he was covering the fight for. ESPN didn't want to cover fights because he was going to say certain things. So now you got Tim Bradley basically doing his Max Kellerman. What's the name of the guy that was on First Take with Left First Take? Skip Bayless. Yeah, now you got Timothy Bradley doing his Skip Bayless comedy act. Terrence Crawford is
journalism.
What'd he say?
Shock journalism type shit.
Yeah. Exactly. Talk journalism type of crap on there, man. It's the whole thing, in my opinion, man. This boxing media stuff is a joke, man. All right, thanks, Javier. I appreciate you. No worry, man. Riffle Raffle. This is why I like your channel. You expose the truth. Look, man, this shit is out there for everybody to see, man. It's out there for everybody to see. Max ain't the best. Max talks some, please. No, I don't believe Tim Bradley is trying to get paid, man. The dude's trying to get paid. Unlike, I don't think he's being honest, man. I don't think he's being honest. But anyway, man, let me ask you a question, man. Blood. Do I got Kurt? Oh no, Kurt couldn't make it, obviously, because I sent it to him. Hey, man, cover your thoughts on when you said earlier in the conversation, you said, you talked about Deontay Wilder. We didn't get an actual chance to talk about it on this platform. I wanted you to give your comments because I think they're very insightful on the interview that 78 Sports TV did last Thursday with Deontay Wilder on 78 on his channel.
Well, Deontay Wilder brought up a lot of great points in the 78 Sports TV interview, which I found to be as a groundbreaking interview because he was the first fighter, and he said a lot of real stuff in 2019. I mean, he's going down in history for doing a lot of things outside of the ring too and saying a lot of things of relevance. But he said that we all know that the sanctioning bodies pretty much are, they're irrelevant anyways. Basically, he called them irrelevant, okay? He spoke about mandatories and all of that stuff too. Basically, the ranking systems, okay, we all know that the ranking systems are fake. So how can you impose a mandatory on Deontay Wilder from a fake ranking system? It's just like Usyk, for instance, who's ranked at number 1 in the WBO, okay? How did he get that ranking? He didn't fight anybody to get there. So you mean to tell me that you're imposing mandatories whenever you feel like it just because you like the way the fighter looks or that you like the amount of money that they paid to get their ranking? It doesn't make sense. So Deontay Wilder basically exposed all of that when he was saying that these guys are insignificant and that they're insignificant and that the fight game is really, it's the fighters who's taking the risk and they need to do what the people want. They need to give the people the fights they want. He said all of this stuff on 78 Sports TV, and he's part of the PBC, who I felt in the beginning, they were trying to downplay belts. When the PBC platform first came out, they had these fighters coming out by themselves. They wasn't displaying the belts and stuff. I thought that they was headed to a time period where they were going to make their own belt. So hopefully that's where we're going in the future. That's what I'm hoping. I usually could see things happening a little bit early. If you really look at things, you can see it for what it is, but they've already got rid of the WBO. So basically the PBC is already proving that, hey, we'll get rid of your ass if you don't work with our plan. If you don't work with our plan, we'll just make you irrelevant, which is the right idea. And like Teddy Atlas said, and I give Teddy Atlas credit for this one. He said, look, man, why didn't he get rid of all the belts? I like what he did with the WBO, but he made a mistake. He should have just got rid of all of them. Yeah, just get rid of all of them. Okay, and Deontay Wilder basically said that, hey, we're the ones that people are coming to see. So he's aware of all of that stuff. He also said all that money that we're paying them. Okay, and this, I didn't think I mentioned this, but one thing that he did say was all that money that we're paying them, well, we could keep that, we could keep that in our pocket. That's a nice chunk to keep in our pocket. Okay, so basically he went into generational wealth, okay? Because basically all they're doing is feeding these guys, okay? These guys are lining their pockets and they're manipulating fight fans and telling them who they think should be presented as a pound for pound. Having fight fans argue over a status that to me is a sacred status, pound for pound. In boxing, this is sacred status in boxing. So, you could downplay pound for pound and say, okay, well, my pound, fuck what you say, Blood. My pound for pound is just my favorite fighter. Fuck what you say. But if you came up watching boxing like me, and you came up during the time when they had a Dirty Dozen, you understood rankings and the history of pound for pounds and all of that stuff, you wouldn't be singing that so fast, because to get a pound for pound status, you had to have done something. You had to have dominated a bunch of different styles within your weight class, okay? Or even exceeded that and went to a different weight class and did it too, okay? In my opinion, Terrence Crawford is significantly smaller than these other welterweights, okay? I think that he should have just stayed at 140 and went for a reign there. I think it would have been better for his legacy if he would have just stayed at 140 and did an undisputed reign. That would have made the undisputed thing mean something different. And then right now, we could call him a pound for pound for sure. I'd be more solid with calling him a pound for pound if he was just beating up all the guys, if he was fighting guys like Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor, and if he would have did even better and entered that tournament or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that brings us a pound for pound, like what Andre Ward did when he was willing. I'm going back to pound for pound because I know that that's the main subject on this whole thing. So I'm tying up the two conversations.
No, do whatever you want to do, man. Take it where you want it.
I'm kind of tying them up because I'm going back to the pound for pound thing and this whole thing. But Wilder, though, basically his main point, the biggest point that he made in that whole interview was the part about the sanctioning bodies being irrelevant and keeping that money for himself. Because these guys that you're paying now are not even related to the original sanctioning body heads, the guys who started these sanctioning bodies. Like Lomachenko right now has a super belt. Okay, well, that's not the belt Pernell Whitaker had. The WBA, it's the WBA super, right? That's the belt that the WBA is the sanctioning body that Julio Cesar Chavez beat Edwin Rosario for the lightweight WBA champ. But if you look at the WBA super champ, which is what's his name, Lomachenko is, that's not the belt that Chavez won against Rosario and Pernell Whitaker eventually won. Okay, it's not the same belt. Okay, so you guys need to understand all of this kind of stuff, that they're just creating all of this stuff, using the social media tool to create like a WWE atmosphere where they get fans to argue over irrelevant shit and things like that. But nobody's shining light on the real problem, which is the sanctioning bodies, okay? Teddy Atlas, one thing that he does understand, and I could tell it because I'm subscribed to him, and if you listen to Teddy Atlas, you'll still get a lot of great boxing insight because you're talking to somebody who has been involved with boxing for decades, okay? So that's why I listen to guys like Teddy Atlas. I've even had the pleasure of talking to him before. But Teddy Atlas brings us a lot of great insight, and he thinks the same thing the rest of us think, that the sanctioning bodies are irrelevant. All they're doing is lining their pockets, and it's time to get rid of these guys. And then you can have a real system to where you can find out who the real pound for pound is. I mean, you can't just base a pound for pound off of a 5-pound thing either. I mean, this guy has to be willing to go in there and beat guys like Regis Prograis and all of these guys that are around that time. He got to beat that little, what's his name, Lopez, and all of these guys got to fight, man. Okay, then we will know who the pound for pound king is. It's a little bit premature to be labeling a pound for pound at this stage in boxing when, you have an undisputed. Okay, let's say he gets undisputed. Is that because the sanctioning bodies allowed him to become undisputed? Because I'm not seeing much resistance. So they have a money plan when they're calling each other and they're using you guys as pawns and tools and laughing and saying, okay, well, we'll do this. They don't realize that blood boxing is onto their shit and sniffing them out. and I'm going to do more research, and I will bring that research to the table.
Hey, Blood. Well, I'll tell you something. First of all, AMG2 Lions in the camp, saluting that super chat, man. We appreciate you. Definitely appreciate you. I'll tell you one thing for sure. If they don't charge Lomachenko $100,000 to unify that IBF belt, then we know something ain't right. Because the IBF, when Terrence Crawford fought Julius Ndungo to unify, Terrence Crawford and Julius Ndungo both had to take over $100,000 out of their purse and pay that in order to allow them to unify. If you don't hear
because of Lipinets.
Yeah. If you don't see these guys if they don't name a mandatory, if the IBF doesn't name a mandatory for actually, that might not be the case, because I think Comey, they did kind of grease it, because Comey has already been mandated to fight. Yeah. He's already been ordered to fight. Comey's already been ordered to fight Teofimo Lopez in preparation for Lomachenko fighting for the undisputed title. Yeah, because the combination of the WBC mandating that Campbell fight Lomachenko for that belt, and I don't think that's completely unheard of. I do believe that Linares was also given a mandate. I think he was also the mandatory for the WBC when he had the WBA belt. I'm pretty sure but Mikey Garcia wound up not doing that. I think Mikey Garcia wound up fighting like Lipinets or something. One thing ahead of that. What I would like to see though is because I don't think that I don't have as much problem with the WBC and the IBF as I have with the WBO and the WBA. I think that the WBO is a farce. They are so obviously in bed with one promoter that I don't think that they should be considered a major championship belt, because they're so overt with it. In all of the ranking systems, theirs is the most dubious, because they're giving ranking positions based on championships that are won, like regional championships that are won, like the intercontinental belt guy is the number one, and some other belt is that. And if there's not all promoters are allowed to have their fighters fight for that, you wind up having all top ranked fight. That's Bob Arum. That's the way that I see it. That's Bob Arum's sanctioning body, because anytime that you can allow, that you can promise Vasyl Lomachenko or any other fighter, as a condition of them signing with a promoter, them getting a championship fight in their second fight, that's just crazy. Lomachenko literally said, Bob Arum and Lomachenko had this type of conversation, and Bob Arum, I get this from Bob Arum. I'm not making it up. Lomachenko was deciding what promoter he was going to sign with. And he said, Bob, I will sign with you if you can guarantee me a championship fight in my first fight. And Bob Arum said, not your first fight, I can do your second fight. And he says, okay, I shake my hand on it. After my second fight, I'm going to get a championship fight. How can you get more crooked than that? How can you possibly get more crooked than that? For Bob Arum, just think the amount of power that Bob Arum has to have within an organization to guarantee somebody that has never had a professional fight before that they will fight for a championship in their second fight. I think that what I would like to see is the WBC expand their mandatories from having not just number one and number two guys fighting each other, but force, like you said, force the guys that are within that top 10, force them to fight each other. If you have a number 10 guy should not be able to vault to the number one position without fighting the number 6, number 7, number 4, number 5, number 6 fighter. They've got guys like Tyson Fury, who hadn't fought in 2 years, takes one fight and boom, jumps to the top 3 in the WBA, top 2 in the WBC. You've got guys like Dillian White, who's ranked in the top 10, and this is something that Blood points out, is ranked in the top 10 that has not fought anybody else that's ranked in the top 10. And if you look at the rules of these organizations, the one thing, there's a lot of things that are very subjective, but one thing that is certainly subjective is how they decide who's ranked number 1 through number 10. There should be some type of playoff that you got to have to become the number 1 ranked guy, or number 2 or number 3 ranked guy. These. What's your thoughts on that, Blood? Did you just leave, Blood?
No, I'm still here.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Blood?
Well, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm sitting up here eating my damn barbecue chicken. You caught me right when I was eating some shit. But
yeah, that's why I knew I was going to get you.
Okay. I agree with everything you're saying. And what even further proves what you're saying is that Alexander Usyk right now in the WBO is ranked number 1. Who did he fight? Okay. I looked at the WBO yesterday, and I believe that we have the situation again where not one top 10 fighter has fought another one. How do these guys continue to keep doing this? And then they want to stop undisputed based off of fake rankings. So it doesn't make sense to even impose a mandatory. But I have yet to see the WBO impose a mandatory on Lomachenko. That's the first belt that he had. And in the lower weight class, he also had the WBO belt too, okay? So he built some kind of relationship with them before he even got with Bob Arum. But no, he got with Bob Arum from the get-go, didn't he?
From the get-go, no, okay. Man.
That's right, like you said. So Bob Arum promised him, it all makes sense when it comes together. Bob Arum promised him a shot at the WBO belt because the WBO is in well, not only with Bob Arum, but I think that they have established some kind of a relationship with the Zone too, because you have to look at the fighters who they're ranking high, like guys like Usyk, because isn't he an Eddie Hearn fighter, Usyk?
Yeah, he's got one here. Yeah, absolutely. There's no PBC fighters that were ranked by the WBO.
Okay, so that's the problem. They need to just scratch them. And like I said, when you start going back into the WBC and all these other rankings, they're doing whatever they need to do to line their pockets. And, it's been a good payday for them to get these big paydays and not be questioned, to just roll money in, okay? All the rest of us have to work for our fucking money. You know what I'm saying? This money rolls in.
Hey, Blood. Hold on one second. Ricky B, no championship contender fighter is a bum. Let's get it straight. Let's get straight. Let me ask you a question. Blood, do you know who Fraser Kendo is?
Yeah, I know who Fraser Kendo is.
You remember when Fraser Kendo was ranked number 1 by the WBA?
He was ranked number 3 or 4 for years, for like 5 years, right?
Yeah, and he ain't fought in 10.
Yeah, it's been years since he's fought, and he was ranked for years. They only just moved him out of the ranking.
Get out of here, man.
Comment.
Dude, they got Tom Schwartz. Tom Schwartz was ranked in the WBO. Do you see that? Do you see Teddy Atlas point out that fight from Otto Wallen? That punch that didn't land from Otto Wallen?
I saw that.
It knocked the guy out.
Yep.
Nah, man, you might not. What's going on, Curtis? Man, you might not like the term bum, and I can understand why people wouldn't like people calling people bums, because, hey, man, I can't whoop Tom Schwartz. I can't whoop Bull. They're clearly world-class fights, but let's use the word as it's intended. Guys that have absolutely no shot, next to no shot at winning titles. Okay? And going back to the Lomachenko thing, for people to use Guillermo Rigondeaux as some way to buffer Lomachenko's claim at being an all-time great fighter is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Nobody is given Muhammad Ali credit for beating Bob Foster. Nobody. I've never heard it. I've never heard anybody say, oh, Joe Frazier, the real Joe Frazier is one of the greatest heavyweights ever is because he beat Bob Foster. Blood, can you enlighten people on the situation between Bob Foster, Muhammad Ali, and George Foreman?
That's very interesting that you bring up Bob Foster. Yeah, you know what? I've never thought about that, but Bob Foster is considered by many to be the greatest light heavyweight to ever live. Some historians will give him that. I've heard it said before. But Ali never did receive any credit for beating Bob Foster, who was just so dominant in his weight class that he had to move up a couple of times, okay? Now, I don't know how you're relating George Foreman to that. Enlighten me on that. Joe Frazier.
Because Joe Frazier knocked out Bob Foster, too.
He moved up to fight Joe Frazier also. He sure did. But, yeah, he in these days, look, what's that guy's name who said that thing about the bum? Hold on, let me address him real quick. What's his name again? He said that we call no fighter is a bum.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't remember the name.
Listen, young punk. Let me tell you something. The term bum in boxing has been used before you were born. Okay. That term goes back as far. I bet that shit was used in the 1920s or something. So you're coming on here trying to, you ain't contributed to boxing in no way, and you're trying to tell us how to talk and go against the traditional way of talking in boxing. He's a bum fighter, like they've been saying for 100 years. Okay, where have you been? What corner have you been hiding in, huh? You're new to boxing discussion, all right? He's a bum fucking fighter, which means he's not as good as the other fighters. It doesn't mean that we're going to get off our ass and fight him. We have the rights as consumers and people who put our money and time into the sport to indulge in some of the vocabulary of boxing terminology that's been used for a century, okay? So catch up with us, okay? So, when you come back, drop a super chat, $10, okay? That's what you need, okay? If you want some of this knowledge, you got to drop us a super chat, my man, or get the fuck out the building, all right?
Yes, sir. Mike Cuevas.
Is that his name?
No. Listen to this moron. And I'm about to have fun with this moron. Y'all, what's up with y'all thinking, I ain't gonna say the N-word, every black fighter is the greatest to enter the ring against another race? Calm down. It's cheesy. I don't think that I've heard anybody ever say that every black fighter is the greatest fighter ever. Once again, that is an example of you being a racist, because you bring up that subject when nobody else is putting that forward. Lomachenko isn't the greatest fighter because Lomachenko isn't the greatest fighter. He already lost to Orlando Salido. Last time I checked, Orlando Salido is not black. Last time I checked, I pointed to Vasily Lomachenko losing to a Mexican. Last I checked. The fact of the matter is that you have that on your mind. You bring that up because you have some sense of insecurity about yourself. Don't project and put that on me. And I'm not going to fall into this. I used to do this thing where I would go and point out all of the Europeans. What happened? Oh, you on? Hey, hit mute, blood. I used to.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
My camera is stuck or something, man. I don't know my computer. Yeah. I can't even move my cursor.
Yeah, no worries, man. I just wanted to point that out, dude. You guys you get mad every time you try to shove somebody up to the front and they fall. And this is what I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with Lomachenko, and it's going to make you sick. Pessimists, there's a saying that pessimists are almost always right, and optimists are often wrong. Optimists accomplish great things because they believe in themselves, but when judging most things, pessimists are usually right. And you're going to take an L with Lomachenko. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. You're going to take another L with Lomachenko. Lomachenko is going to lose, and Lomachenko is going to lose soon. And let me tell you why I know that to be the case. Because the same person that is building him up is going to make a lot of money with him falling. Lomachenko is going to get fed to somebody that fights with Top Rank. Lomachenko just struggled with a mid-level lightweight in Luke Campbell. He went the distance and got hurt with the body shot by Luke Campbell. The guy that beat Luke Campbell Linares knocked him down. He just went the distance with Jose Pedraza, who Gervonta Davis flatlined. He is going to lose, and he is going to lose soon. Do you know why I know that? Because of the concept called gravity. What goes up must come down. They are building up Lomachenko, and Lomachenko is going to come down. He is either going to run into some future 147-pound fighter that like a situation like Saddam Ali versus what's the name of that guy that beat the piss out of Saddam Ali up there at 154 pounds? The WBO 154, Jaime Munguia.
Yeah, Munguia.
Yeah, he's either going to get thrown in with a lightweight version of Jaime Munguia, similar to what Bob Arum did to Isaac Dogboe with Navrati, or he's going to be or they're going to run him into some type of situation where they put him in there with Devin Haney. Now, as much as you don't like and think, Black Fight Fan TV made a very astute observation. Devin Haney is a bad matchup for Vasily Lomachenko. And let me tell you why because styles make fights. Devin Haney has very, very, very fast feet. And Devin Haney can stay well without a reach, well outside of reach of Vasily Lomachenko and jab him from the outside. And if Lomachenko then switches into phase 2, which is come forward, he's going to get caught coming in. Devin Haney's going to duck in, spin out, and it's all going to start again. Because Vasily Lomachenko, similar to Canelo Alvarez, does not have exceptionally fast feet. He has fast hands, he has very good upper body movement, but he does not have the ability that a Terrence Crawford does, or a Floyd Mayweather Jr. has, or a Devin Haney has, where they can stay well outside of your reach of you whenever they want to. Lomachenko is going to run into a Devin Haney, or he's going to run into a Jaime Munguia type of situation, and it's going to be when the matchmakers at Top Rank know that he is at the end of his rope, because that's what they do. They build you up to tear you down. The same reason that Terrence Crawford is not getting built up by Bob Arum, because they don't need to. Terrence Crawford is built for the long run. Lomachenko's not built for the long run. I'm telling you, and I'm telling you that now, because that's how boxing is. And it's happened time and time and time and time again. But, you guys want to fall. I told you that about Chocolatito. Told you that about Sergey Kovalev. Told you that about Gennady Golovkin. Told you that about Anthony Joshua. And I'm telling you that about Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko is a very, very, very good fighter who is having his career orchestrated. But the same people that will orchestrate your career will orchestrate the end of it. They will screw around and get you beat. Because there's money to be earned on the way up, and there's money to be earned on the way down. Why don't you think Bob Arum made the fight between Manny Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford? Because he wanted to continue on making money against Manny Pacquiao. But if Manny Pacquiao had gone too long, he would have fed him to Terrence Crawford. And believe, if Lomachenko don't get out early enough, he's going to get fed to somebody. That's my thoughts on that matter. What are your thoughts on that matter? On that, and then we'll wrap it up with that. Blood.
Well, all of that came from some guy who left a comment about us bigging up black fighters, I believe, or something like that. But see, here's the problem I have with guys like you. First of all, when I made those videos on retro boxing and documentaries, and I was talking about guys like Tippy Larkin, Patty DeMarco, the flashy Art Aragon. Where was you, huh? Okay, I was bigging these fighters up when I was growing up, and I was watching Don Lalonde and Vinny Paz and Greg Haugen and Tommy Morrison. Where was you at then? Where was you at when I was watching Jared Cooney and giving him credit for his power and all of that stuff? You were nowhere to be found. In fact, you was probably sipping Similac out of your mama's titty. Okay, so you need to understand that we're fair about who we place in these pound for pound type ratings. And the only white fighter, since you want to bring race into it, I'm going to tell you right now about the only white fighter that I saw who could have had a pound for pound type of argument at one time was Joe Calzaghe. But and I covered him on YouTube. When I was covering Joe Calzaghe on YouTube, I predicted that he was going to beat Roy Jones. I got the prediction right. I even reposted that video. I predicted that he was going to beat Bernard Hopkins. I was giving this guy all kind of credit and all of that stuff. So you shut the fuck up and know who you talking to, boy. Go take that shit somewhere else, okay? You talk boxing when you come around here with us because we big up white fighters. We know more about white fighters than you do, okay? And you're white yourself. You don't know nothing about your own history of the white fighters. So you shut the fuck up and bring something constructive to the table, boy. You hear me? And that's what I got to say about that, man. You know, since that's what he brought up, you know what I'm saying? So that's it.
Yeah. Hey, but hey, man, maybe they're racist because Blood, they're putting Lomachenko over Harry Greb.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and they're just stupid. That's what you call. I mean, Harry Greb, he's a white fighter. Look at all the great stuff that Harry Greb did. A guy who I know who's done a lot of great things. I haven't studied. I know he fought Gene Tunney a few times, but I haven't studied him totally. Like, there's other guys on YouTube who cover Harry Greb, but you guys don't even go and listen to them. I'm not going to promote that guy who covers him, but you don't listen to these guys, man. Okay, I do. All right, so shut the fuck up. Don't bring race to the table if you're not willing to talk and can't have a conversation about fighters from your race. Okay. All right, I'll tell you about your race, okay, when it comes to boxing. You listen to me, you listen to Fanon, tune in to OG Boxing Talk. You'll get a lot of great knowledge. Go to Scrapbook Boxing. He covers plenty of white fighters, plenty of them. He gives them credit for whatever they did, whatever they accomplished. You don't downplay them. Kurt Anderson don't downplay white fighters. In fact, if you look at my Sugar Ray Robinson milestones, you'll see that I covered Charlie Burns, and I went into the history of where fighters like Charlie Burns comes from. But did you take the time out to listen to your daddy Blood Boxing tell you what it's all about? No, you didn't. So you shut the fuck up and you learn, man, and stop with the dumb comments, okay? We'll bring race into it when it's convenient. Boxing is a sport that's built off of race, okay? If you can't have that discussion and you're not able to link the two, I'm not going to calm down my boxing talk for you, man, and level down for you. Fuck off. Go somewhere else and go listen to them other chumps. That's what I got to say.
Yes, sir. All right. Look, man, we running over KQKC's time. Much love to everybody in the super chat. Much love to everybody in the chat. Blood Boxing, tell them how to get you. You going, Blood?
No, I'm still here. Okay.
Let them know to get in contact with you.
Get me at Blood Boxing Live, okay? You can hit me there. But most importantly, that's really booming right now. It's called Retro Boxing and Documentaries. That's the channel you really want to subscribe to. Like I said, shit, I'm closing in on 2,000 new subscribers. Ain't did a video there in almost 4 months. So y'all make sure y'all get there, man. It's a hot site to go to right now.
All right. Yep. Well, hey, man, check out KQKC next. Thank you guys for coming, and we'll be back. Peace. Accidental mic drop.